Welcome to Rearview Diaries. I'm your host, Paul. Today's episode, it's an adventure story. It's called Around the World in 80 Days. So like everything else, I was driving around and I get a summons to go pick up at the Coca-Cola Museum. And when I got there, I saw a couple with a luggage, and they were very happy to see me. So I helped them put the luggage in the back of the car. And we started to drive off, and I mentioned, well, how did you like the Coca-Cola Museum? And he said, we did not know there were so many different drinks from all over the world that they sampled. But anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get to some conclusion of that later. So I told him, well, when I checked the destination, it was the airport, the international terminal. So I presume, after they got in, and I heard their accent, I knew that they were from Europe. And I asked them, so what made you come to Atlanta? And the husband goes, well, as a child, he read Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days, and he watched the movie. So his dream someday was to travel all over, do around the world in 80-day adventure. So he said that they're day 13 in Atlanta. So they came last night, and today they're off to, I think they were saying somewhere in South or Central America, to a beach resort. So we started driving even more, and I said, wow. So what made you decide to, what made you decide to do this? He goes, well, unlike Jules Verne, who did it on a balloon, we're doing it on a commercial jet. So obviously we're making many, many more stops. And the wife goes, yes, we're making many, many more stops. And then the husband comes back and says, well, we've seen so many international travelers in our country. We thought it would be great for us to go and visit their countries and see how things are. And also, how often can you go and do a 80-day adventure? I go, you're right, 80 days. I don't know how I could take off 80 days from work. And he goes, that's one of the benefits being in Europe, is that they do value vacation. And this is something that my wife and I, we always wanted to do. So I said, so how was your travel so far? Well, he goes, I do speak English and my native, or a few other languages, European languages, but one of the things that we realize is that so many people were just nice everywhere, and he goes, you start out with a smile and somehow people just open up to you. I go, I agree. I think smile is one of the most important communication. And he goes, yes. And the wife goes, yes, everybody understands what smile is all about. But one of the things that they did mention is that more they travel, more excited they are, because people are so unique, but yet they have something in common, which is they do communicate. And also at the same time, they were saying that, there were so many helpful people along the way that they've been very, very blessed. I said, that's great. And then we went back to talking about the Coca-Cola Museum. And the wife said, well, we tasted every sample from every country, and we took pictures of the ones that we like, so that when we get there, we know what to order. So that was very interesting. But most importantly, they said that, they're day 13, and they still have another 67 days to go. And they're so excited to make this journey. And I asked him, did you create an itinerary? And he goes, not really, but we're stopping wherever we want to stop, because they purchase a special ticket that goes around the world. They said, that's amazing. But then, as we were talking, he said that, he was very shocked that the Americans were so nice here. Because in Europe, there's a bad flack about Americans being mean and it's dangerous and so forth. And he goes, I didn't feel any of that, traveling through America. And he said he's been to New York. They stopped in Florida, and then they came to Atlanta. and they hope that they'll go through South America, Central America, South America, and they want to come back through the west coast of America, then proceed to Asia. So he goes, I don't know how many days it's going to take, but we have this adventure is so exciting for us. So they were just an amazing couple with an amazing adventure in their, within them. And it just made me feel like, wow, how important it is to travel and see the world. So anyway, we got to the airport. I dropped them off, and they told me, "Bon voyage." They said, "Thank you so much for the ride, and thank you for being so kind," because I helped them, take the luggage out and so forth. But more importantly, there's so many fascinating people out there doing so many interesting things. So now it really got me thinking. I would love to go and do around the world in 80 days sometime in the future. So so I decided to add that to my bucket list. But anyway, here, I just want to thank you guys for listening, and I'm looking forward to seeing more interesting passengers in the future. So thank you for listening to Rearview Diaries. If you can, please subscribe and then press like. And if you could leave me a interesting comment, that would be wonderful. Other than that, I hope to see you in my rearview mirror. Thank you.